Hello everyone, welcome back to TechPoint. Today I'm here with Nachum. I hope I didn't misspell your name.
Perfect.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, how are you? Nice to meet you, Christian.
I'm doing amazing. I saw that you're a serial entrepreneur, and I'm so excited to hear your life story and how you started it. And have a great discussion.
Awesome. Ready for it.
Okay, please tell me how you started.
So I can't go through all my entrepreneurial journey because we only have like a half hour.
Yeah,
Uh, but I've
a
been an
summary.
entrepreneur. Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for more than 30 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I was that kid that was shoveling snow for $5 a driveway and selling baseball cards as a youth. But how I got to my journey for Book Like a Boss is after I had started. I've started ventures in many different industries. The
Mm-hmm.
hardest one I started was in the apparel industry. I actually launched a line of apparel for special needs children because I have a son who has special needs, and I wanted to give him the clothing that was more adaptive to his life. But manufacturing in China ended up being a nightmare more than I could have possibly imagined. And long story short, after 2 years, putting in my blood, sweat, tears, and money, I had to close the company. And when I closed it, I didn't want to jump into a new venture right away because it took a lot out of me. I said, I want to take it a little bit easy. I wanted to write a book. I want to start a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, okay, I'll do business coaching, startup coaching, which I love to do. And then before I think about my next venture. And so I wrote my book and I started my podcast and I started doing my business coaching. But what happened was because of the success of my book and my podcast, I was getting a lot of people every day, almost, emailing me or calling me, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Can I buy you lunch? And I was like, well, I charge for my time. Oh, how much do you charge? I charge $250 an hour. Oh, you charge 200. Well, what does that include? Can you tell me? When they thought it was a free cup of coffee, they were happy to meet with me. All of a sudden I'm charging money, and it become, well, now they want to know more details about me.
Yes.
And I saw that this ended up being a huge time waster. A lot of people would come and and go back and forth with me, waste my time. And I said, I wish there was an easy way that when someone contacts me as a coach, I could just send them a link, and when they go to this link, they could see more about me. They could see a video about me. They could see my frequently asked questions. So they'll probably answer the questions I already have. And I'll
Yeah.
show the different services I offer, how much they are. And then they could book me and pay for it all from this one link.
Great.
Nothing like that existed.
Yes.
There were calendar apps, out there, but, and I tried building it on WordPress and it was a pain in the neck. I couldn't get everything to work together and to look good, and especially on mobile.
Yeah.
And so I decided, so what happened was, um, I decided to hire somebody to build it for me, and they wanted like $3,000. And I said, no, I'm not paying that for this one pager. And so I was a little frustrated, but I kept going. And a couple of weeks after that, I had this issue. I got an email from a friend of mine
Mm-hmm.
whose sister was masseuse. And she said, I'm not technically inclined. I just need an easy way where I could create a web page that says, these are the massages I offer. Here's my calendar. Book me and pay for it all from one place. Does such a thing exist? And so when my friend said this to me, I said, oh boy. I said, if here's a masseuse that has this problem, and I'm a business coach that has this problem, with the gig economy continuing to grow and everybody having their side hustle, I bet there's a real need for an easy way to sell services online. We don't have to be technical at all, but you want to be able to sell different types of services and have everything in one page, and that looks great on mobile.
Wow.
And that's when the idea hit. And I went to a good friend of mine who's a developer named David. And I said, here's my idea. He loved it. And back in 2015, we decided to start building it.
Yeah. So now it makes sense for me. It's for professionals want to have a landing page, answer some question, and then book a meeting or something like that.
Book a
Yeah.
meeting, book a service. We've grown a lot since then. Now
Wow.
you could sell classes, memberships, events, one-day events, multiple events.
Hmm.
Software since then has really come to its own.
When did you started the company?
So we started at the end of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
We released the first version in 2017.
The
So it took,
MVP.
I'm sorry?
The MVP.
Yeah. The MVP took about a year and a little bit more than a year and a few months to get out. Mostly because my partner was still developing part-time for his clients. And so he couldn't put a full time into it, but so it took about a year and a quarter to get it out. So we brought in another co-founder who is a designer, and we launched in 2017.
Great. How many team members are there in your company right now?
Right now, there's 9.
Perfect. And do you have some investors? Or
So it's funny. I've from previous startups, I've taken millions in VC investments, and I really did not want to take VC investments with this company. So we've been bootstrapping for a while. I mean, we took some friends and family money. Um, to date, we've raised probably about $750,000. But now we're decided that really we've had a lot of growth without putting any money into marketing. And I realized that if I really want this company to explode, like I think it should, we got to start putting money into marketing.
Yeah.
So we're decided that we're going to raise a seed round now, and then probably a Series A in the beginning of 2023.
I understand. So you had a lot of potential without marketing, and you said, why not use it?
Yeah, we because I've gone the VC route before, and I was not happy.
Yeah.
We wanted to stay control. We wanted to be bosses of our own company and make our own decisions, and we've been able to do that. And thank God we're doing very well revenue wise. So if we do have that meeting with the VCs, it's a different conversation than my previous companies where it was we weren't generating revenue at that point.
I understand. Yeah, it's a different positioning.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love the story of how you started this idea and turned it into an actual company. I don't know, can you give us some more features or a better other use
Sure.
cases of the product?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have I'll tell you just because it's time has to do with today's time. There's an organization in America that wants to offer free tutoring to children in the Ukraine during the war. And they had hundreds of volunteers that they wanted to be able to offer this tutoring. And they came to us to be the booking platform for them. So we were honored, and of course we did it. I realize now we actually never told anybody because we didn't take a penny for it. We're happy to cover the cost, anything for kids.
Yes.
But that was one use case that came up just because of the war that we got involved with. Another is we've had like a yoga studio that had hundreds of different yoga teachers, and they wanted to have a complete brand solution, where as part of their licensing agreement, they get this booking platform with their brand. And so we have a great deal with them, and their teachers, gets a booking portal with their branding, their logo, but obviously powered by us. But we have over 60,000 users now in over 100 countries. So really, whether it's, we've seen it from barbers to coaches to dentists to therapists to marketers to salespeople, and people that just want to book regular meetings but want something better. You ever get that? You get on LinkedIn and someone sends you a little pitch and says, "Hey, can you here's my Calendly link," and you go there and there's like no personality. You don't know anything about the person.
Yes.
So people love us. We actually have a website called notcalendly.com. So because in the beginning I was getting, people were comparing us to them, even though we're in our minds, we're nothing like them. If you go to notcalendly.com, you'll see that. But, even with just simple booking meetings, it gives it more personality, lets the person you're meeting with know more about you. And so the meetings just end up being better. And, you already find some common ground before you even meet the person.
I understand. So it may also work for me as a podcaster. Let's say I
Absolutely.
create a landing page. Here's our top guests, most viewed videos. This is me.
Absolutely. We have hundreds of podcasters that use us for booking their guests.
I understand.
It actually, when you send me your link, it actually hurt me to use the Calendly link. It was
yeah.
It was a little painful. I got over it, but we're gonna have to change that.
I thought about it. Yeah, I thought maybe he will not like it, but
It's what it
uh,
is. It's
I was sure we're gonna talk about this in the podcast. Yeah.
right.
So you're nothing like Calendly. It's completely different.
Well, listen, Calendly, we do everything that Calendly does, but that wasn't our when we set out. My goal wasn't to create another Calendly. There's hundreds of booking apps, right? Our goal was to create the one and all solution to sell services online. So any
Yes.
type of booking, whether you're booking conference rooms or golf cart rentals or classes, events, anything that do with selling a service, any type of service that you offer, whether you're one person or 1,000 people, that's really what we're focused on. It happens to be that most service industries has some booking involved, but if you're a graphic designer or you're a content writer and it's not geared towards calendar date, you can still use us, and people do, and you can still take bookings and make money even if it's not calendar based.
Yeah.
But we do have a very robust calendar based system, just because that's the nature of the service industry for the most part.
Yeah. I think Calendly goal was to make it as simple as they can, but you on the other hand, you don't want that. You want to bring it all in one solution.
Well, we want to be simple,
Yeah,
and
simple,
we got
but
a
also
little more robust,
yes,
a
yes,
lot more than that. It's not
with a
just
bit
about
personality.
exactly.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah. So great product, great solution. I now understand your target audience and why people would use you. Obviously, you bring a lot of value to the world.
Yep.
um, can you tell me more about your entrepreneurial past? What other companies you founded?
Sure. One of the companies I founded was a company that was originally called Qoof, Qoof.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I came up with the idea this is back in the, early 2000s, 2005, I would say. I looked at online video, and at the time, people were questioning, YouTube was just getting started, and people were questioning, well, how do you make money with online video?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-rolls, post-roll, mid-roll advertising. And I looked at it differently, and I said, hey, how do we actually turn video into a selling tool, like a mini home shopping network or QVC? And so I actually invented video overlays on top of the video to, where you can watch the video and then you have call to actions like,
Oh,
buy now or learn more or whatever it is. And actually there's 4 patents in my name for this technology.
great.
So it was, it was an exciting run. I had the company for about 5 years. I left after 5 years. Um, Due to, as I mentioned before, VCs that are investors that really were not the nicest of people.
Ah,
I don't want to go too much details of that story, but the company ended up exiting a couple years later, and it's still around today.
wow. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to learn some lessons.
Oh, I learned absolutely. Through, I see the sign behind it says failure, 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 right? But it only takes one for success. But,
Yeah.
it's not a failure if you learn from them.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I've learned so much from my entrepreneurial journey and all the mistakes I've made, that when I was building Book Like a Boss, I said, you know what, I'm not going to make those same mistakes. I'm not going to take money before I actually prove that people want to buy it, right? I'm good at selling the dream, but I didn't want to sell the dream. I wanted to sell something more practical. And we didn't take
Yeah.
our first money from friends and family until we already had the MVP out and people already buying us. I mean, we already had thousands of users before we took in our first investment money.
So
Um,
right now, from my perspective, you do business with your heart, not
yes,
with
absolutely.
with your head.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
both. But I'll tell you, like we made up, my partner and I, we decided very early on that we were going to be making the decisions of the company, him and I together, and we're not going to ever give that up into anyone else's hands. So, for example, very early on, before we even launched, we went to an investor, a guy who lived in my town, and he loved the vision, loved the idea, and he offered us $100,000 for 10% of the company, which
Mhm.
was $1 million valuation without having even launched. We thought it was very fair, and we agreed to it. And then he said, "But I want a board seat." I said, you're not getting a board seat for $100,000. He said, there's no board seat. I said, there's no investment. I said, have a nice day. I'm not giving you a board seat for $100,000. And
Yeah.
he's since come back to me and he says, I regretted not taking that investment.
um,
Yeah.
how do you evaluate your company right now? At and what price? What?
There's a valuation.
Yeah,
Why you want to invest?
the valuation.
It depends. The investment round that we're looking for now is probably in the 10 million range.
Mm-hmm.
But it's depending on the investor, depending on the rounds, the valuations are they fluctuate depending on your situation and your system. Like, can we get a higher valuation? Possibly. Are we going to but we're looking at not for this round, but really for the next round, the Series A. We hope to have a much larger valuation.
I understand. Regarding what you said earlier, I think here should be written, instead of failure, should be written lessons or learning. Lessons. And it only takes 1 year for success. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I can talk about anything. I mean, your time, your show. I'm happy to discuss anything.
I don't know. Any piece of advice for starting entrepreneurs?
Absolutely. From doing this so many starting companies and all my experience, there's two things you always have to keep in mind. Like you saw from my story, A Book Like a Boss, is that there was a real pain point that needed to be solved, right? There are people that needed an easy way to sell services online. That was a pain point that I myself had, and that's the pain point that we went to solve. And therefore, we've seen a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
You have to be careful though when you're creating a company. Make sure you're fulfilling a pain point, you're solving a pain point, and then you have to make sure that people are able to afford what you need to charge for that pain point to solve it, right?
Yeah.
Because even if you have a pain point, but it's going to cost your customers $3,000 a month, and your customer base really can only afford $500 a month, then you're not going to succeed. So before you even put too much time and effort into it, speak to your potential clients, speak to 20 of them and say, hey, if this product existed, would you pay this amount of money for it? And if they say, yes, this is something I would need, and yes, I'm willing to pay for it, then you have a good idea.
Absolutely. Great answer. I think a lot of people at the beginning are a bit afraid to do that, to go talk to customers, and it's a really important thing to do because you can pivot. Yeah.
People are afraid that their idea is going to get out there and then people are going to take it and they're going to run with it.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, it's so silly. It's like, do you know what it takes to start and run a company? Oh my gosh, it is not easy at all. People think it's simple, but there's so many ups and downs and so many challenges, and there's so much that goes into it. It's crazy to think that you're going to speak to somebody, they're going to go, oh, that's a good idea, I'm going to do it myself. Because if someone could just do it themselves in like 24 hours or in a couple of weeks, then it's probably not such a great business idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I read recently in an article and that said the number one reason that startups fail was no market need, like you said. So people don't need that solution.
And sadly, I see it all the time, even with technology products. People are, sometimes I see software, I'm like, it's cool, but is it needed? Are people going to be willing to pay for that?
Yeah.
It's just, it's there's got to be a real need today. You can't just today. I mean, listen, you're always going to have your 1 in a million Twitters or Facebooks or, TikToks, etc., that you just hit a nerve and you spread like wildfire and you don't have to worry about revenue until much later. Mm-hmm. But, and people love those stories and because we're so used to using those products, but that's not reality. Yes. Reality is that 4 out of 5 startups fail within the first 5 years, and becoming those unicorns are of the millions and millions of companies, how many really become unicorns? So if that's your goal, is to become a unicorn or to become like the next Facebook, I would probably seek some help from a therapist first, and then unless you got plenty of money to burn or you're young and foolish, which is great.
Yeah, failure will teach you.
And don't be afraid to fail. Listen, I tell entrepreneurs when they're younger a lot of times, say, listen, I don't think it's going to work, but the experience you'll get from going through the process is
Worth
invaluable.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's worth it.
totally worth it. And if it does end up working, fantastic. If it doesn't, well, you're still living with your parents. So, what do you actually use at the end of the day?
Yeah, fantastic answer. Okay, thank you so much for being here. I'd
My
love
pleasure.
to talk in the future. And yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. It's a great meeting you, great meeting your audience.
Have an amazing day. Goodbye.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.